You know, right now, at this very moment, there's an entire universe buzzing with activity. Inside of you, trillions of tiny, bustling cities are all working together, and they're the reason you're alive. We call these cities cells, and today we're going to go on an expedition deep inside to explore the very building blocks of life itself. All right, every good expedition needs a map, right? So here's ours. First up, we're going to get our bearings and understand the basic building blocks of life. Then, we'll head straight to the cell's command center. After that, we'll take a whirlwind tour of the cellular city at work. And finally, we'll check out some absolutely amazing cellular record holders. So, let's kick things off with Section 1, Life's Building Blocks. Before we can really explore this world, we need to wrap our heads around its scale and, the fundamental laws that govern everything here. To really get the scale, we have to zoom in, way in. Think about it. Your body is made of systems. Those systems are made of organs. Organs are made of tissues. And what are tissues made of? Communities of cells. It just shows that no matter how big or complex things get, it all, and I mean all of it, starts right here with this one single fundamental unit. Now, every city needs a border, and for a cell, that's the cell membrane. You can kind of think of it as a super flexible gatekeeper. It's selectively permeable, which is really just a fancy way of saying it's the club's bouncer. It decides exactly who gets in and who gets kicked out. But some cells, like you find in plants, they need a little something extra. They build this rigid outer fortress, the cell wall, for more structure and defense. So who are the first explorers to even see this world? Well, back in 1665, a guy named Robert Hooke looked at cork through a microscope and saw these tiny, empty boxes he called cells. But he was looking at dead cells. It was actually Antony van Leeuwenhoek, a few years later in 1674, who was the first person to see living, swimming cells. He basically opened our eyes to this whole universe of life in a single drop of water. And all these amazing discoveries led to what is now the foundation of all biology, cell theory. Just think of these as the 3 unbreakable laws of our cellular city. Rule number 1, everything that's alive is made of cells. Simple. Rule 2, the cell is the most basic unit of life. And rule 3, every single cell has to come from another cell that already existed. Seems obvious now, but it was absolutely revolutionary. Okay, now that we know the basic laws of the land, it's time to go visit City Hall. For Section 2, we are venturing right into the cell's command center. This is where all the big decisions get made, and where the city's most important secrets are kept. Welcome to the nucleus. This place is like the City Hall, the CEO's office, and the main library all rolled into one. It's the biggest of the cell's organelles, which are just like the cell's own tiny internal organs. And you can see it's surrounded by a double-layered membrane, which acts like a high-security wall to protect the incredibly precious information inside. So the nucleus is basically a high-security vault. But what exactly is it protecting so carefully? What are these master blueprints? What's the secret code that tells the entire cell what to do and how to do it? Well, the answer is nucleic acids, DNA and its cousin, RNA. Here's an easy way to think about it. DNA is the master blueprint. It's the original, priceless architectural plan that's kept locked away safely in the main office. It's got that stable double helix shape. RNA, on the other hand, is the working copy. It's a single-stranded message that gets sent out to the construction sites, carrying specific instructions to the rest of the cell. Get this, if you stretched out the DNA from just one of your cells, it would be about 2 meters long. So how on earth do you fit that inside a microscopic nucleus? Well, the cell pulls off this incredible packaging trick. The long DNA strand is wrapped around these proteins called histones, kind of like thread on a spool. Then those spools get coiled and bundled up again and again until they form these super compact, organized structures that we call chromosomes. It's amazing. All right, we've seen how the city is run, so it's time for Section 3. You might want to buckle up because we're about to take a really fast-paced tour through the rest of the city's essential infrastructure to see how everything keeps running. Our first stop, the power plants. These are the mitochondria. They are the absolute engines of the city. They're constantly taking in fuel, like sugar from your food, and converting it into these tiny rechargeable energy packets called ATP. And that ATP is what powers literally everything else the cell does. Without the mitochondria, the whole city just goes dark. Next up, the industrial district. See all those little tiny dots? Those are ribosomes. They're the actual factories that build proteins. And see how a ton of them are stuck to that big folded network? That whole thing is the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER for short.
The part with all the ribosomes is called the rough ER, and it's like a huge assembly line where proteins get folded and modified. The other part, the smooth ER, has a different job. It specializes in making fats and getting rid of toxins.
Okay, so once the products leave the ER assembly line, where do they go? They head to the city's central post office, the Golgi apparatus. This is where proteins and lipids get their final touch-ups, they get sorted, and they get addressed for shipping. The Golgi then packages them into these little bubbles called vesicles, which are basically the delivery trucks that take them to their final destinations. Of course, every city has to deal with waste and storage, right? For cleanup, the cell has lysosomes. These are the recycling centers, full of powerful enzymes that just dissolve old parts, garbage, even invading bacteria. And for storage, we have vacuoles. Think of them as the city's warehouses, just holding on to water, food, and other supplies until they're needed.
Phew, that was a whirlwind tour, I know. To help keep all these players straight, here's a quick summary. It's a handy chart that organizes all the organelles by their membrane structure. You've got the double-walled fortresses, like the nucleus, the single-membrane specialists, and even the little guys with no membrane at all, like those busy ribosomes.
And for our final section, we're stepping out of the city for a minute and heading straight for the record books. We're about to see just how wild, how extreme, and how diverse these building blocks of life can truly be.
I mean, cells come in all shapes and sizes, and some of them push the boundaries of life to some pretty incredible extremes. So let's meet a few of the champions. Okay, prepare to have your mind blown a little. The largest single cell known to exist isn't microscopic at all. It's an ostrich egg. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the smallest known cell, a type of bacteria called mycoplasma. And right inside your own body, the award for the longest cell goes to a neuron, a nerve cell that can stretch all the way from your lower spine down to your big toe. How crazy is that? So our little expedition has shown us that just one single cell is as complex and intricate as a bustling city, with its own government, its own power grid, its own factories, all working together in perfect harmony. Which brings us to one last really mind-bending thought. If one cell is a city, then what does that make the interconnected super metropolis of trillions upon trillions of cells that is, well, you?